In this lesson, we will make an example of destination NAT. In our previous lesson, we made an example of static NAT and we had our web server here go to the internet with an IP of 44.34.0.100. In this lesson, we will enable users on the internet to access our web server with the IP of 44.34.0.100. Now let's go to the firewall side and start making our settings. When we come to the firewall side, we will first create our NAT under the Policy tab. Then we will create a rule so that external users can access the web server. First of all, let's go under the Policy tab to create our NAT. Here we come to the NAT tab and create a new NAT rule by clicking Add. Let's name it Destination Web Server NAT. Our source zone is outside. We choose outside as the traffic will come from outside. Our destination zone is outside. Our destination interface 11. Here we also need to write our destination IP address. Our destination IP address is 44.34.0.100. Here, let's write our IP address by saying add. Since there is no IP address here before, let's add an object from the address section, or you can write the direct address if you want. Let's add an object for the web server from here. Let the name be web server WAN IP. Our IP address is 44.34.0.100. Now let's come to the translate package part. Here we will do destination address translation. We choose static IP, and in the static IP section we choose the local IP of our web server. We will convert the requests coming to the IP 44.34.0.100 to the IP of 10.1.0.100 locally. We say OK. Now that we have created our NAT rule, let's go under the Security tab and let outside users access the web server. Let's create a new rule by clicking Add. Let's call it WAN to Web Server. Traffic will come from our outside zone to our DMZ zone. That's why I choose it as inner zone. Our source zone is outside. We leave the source address as any. Now let's move on to the destination zone side. I choose it as DMZ. In the destination address section, we choose our web server WAN IP. From here, we can select HTTP and HTTPS in the service section. We call the action part allow. Let's set our logs from here. Let's say OK. Let's check the rule we wrote here. Our source zone is outside. We will allow users from the internet environment. Since we do not know the source address, we leave any as well. Our destination zone is DMZ. Our destination address is our web server's WAN IP. Incoming traffic will come to IP 44.34.0.100 and we allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. Let's try to access the web server from a user on the internet by saving the changes we have made. I have successfully written our settings to the running config of our firewall. Now let's go to our client and do our test. I came to a user on the internet and I will try to access his IP 44.34.0.100 from here. First, let's check the IP address of our machine, then let's do our test. I say pip-config/all, you can see the IP address of this device is 44.34.0.44. Now let's open our web browser and try to access our web server in our company's DMZ zone. As you can see, we were able to access the web server in our company. While I was preparing the checkpoint course, I set this page on the web server and it remained that way. If you want to register for the checkpoint course, you can access it from among my courses. As you can see, our transaction was successful. Now let's move on to the firewall side and check the logs. When we come to the firewall side, let's check our logs by coming to the Traffic tab from the Monitor tab. Let's refresh our page from here. When we refresh, you can see that the source address is 44.34.0.44. You can see that the destination address is also the WAN IP of our web server. Let's look at the details of this. When we look at the details, you can see the source user's IP address here. Destination address is 44.34.0.100. When we come down, you can see that this IP address has been translated to 10.1.0.100 IP address and its port is 80. This is how we set up destination NAT. See you in our next lesson. Bye.